Hey, we're going to look at making a random sentence generator in Scratch. So the first thing you're going to need is an empty Scratch page. Now you can change who you want your sprite to be. I'm going to stick with the standard Scratch cat for this one. Now you also need to have a bit of an understanding on what is needed in the sentence. So I've got a template for you on my site, but the biggest thing would be to think about what type of words go in a sentence. So create a sentence, simple 5-word sentence, and look at each different type. We need that for later, but let's get started. So here's our Scratch, and we're going to start off by looking at the different types of words. So we're going to make, not a variable, a list. Now each list will be for different types of words. So I've got a list for adjectives. I'll make a list for nouns. I'll make a list for definitives. If I spell it correctly. I'll make a list for verbs. And you make a list for every word type you're going to use. Now I'm just going to stick with these 4 ones for my sentence, for my examples. Now, this is your list of words. Now here you can see press a plus. You can add a word to it. So an adjective would be the giant. Another adjective would be blue. Think of all the different adjectives you can use. If you have about 5, it will get a pretty good result. So I've got a few there. Nouns, what things are you going to have? Table, cat, grapes, door, anything that's a noun. Now, definitive, this is one of those ones where I've created a sentence and had to look up one of the things with it. So let's look at a sentence. The blue door opened. The is a definitive. So if you've got some words you're not sure exactly what they are, look them up. You've got the computer there, might as well do it. So I'm going to use the. Over here, I'm going to look at verbs. So open, because I've got a door. Opened, walked, swam. Oh, that'd be fine. So I'm going to start with this. Now, what we're going to need to do is have an event to start off with, as usual. Now, you've got all these lists here. They are covering what you're doing. So if you want to turn them off, you can just untick them, and they disappear. They still exist, but they just disappeared. Now, we're going to just have the cat say it. I'm going to use say. Usually I go for the 2 seconds one, but this one's going to be different lengths, so we're going to do that. So it's going to say, so this is all the options we can use with the list. We can add things to the list, we can delete things from the list, we can clear it all, we can inspect it, or we can just see the first one. So if we say item 1 of adjectives, now if we look at our adjectives list, we've got these 3. Okay, so if we say item 1, it will say giant. But I don't want to just say giant. I want it to say one of them at random. So if I go to the green operators, I can pick random 1, 2, 3, because we've got 3 items here. Press 3. Blue, slow, blue. It's working. It is random, but it is working. Oh, I want to put another. Let's put another adjective. Tiny. Now let's put another adjective in. Smart. Now, because I've added new adjectives, I'm going to have to go back and change this to 5. But I don't want to do that. this is one of those times where we can work a little bit harder at the start to make things a bit easier for us later. Now, if you want to just put in the number of how many items in your list, that is fine. There's no problem with that. But if you want to be a little bit thinking more now so you don't have to do stuff later, think that's what I like to do. Working a bit smarter, but not harder later. So if we go back here, if we go down to variables, this option says length of. So if I put that in here, that says however long the length is. So I'm just going to test that out for you. I'm going to say how long is active. So if I press this, it's 5. If I put another element into it, 6. If I delete elements from the list, press flag, it's now 3. So if I use this for each one, I don't have to change this number at all. I can just add more things into it. Tiny, green, speedy, ferocious. And I don't need to have to keep on changing it because as you see it says length here, I've got that there. So I can just press now and it adds the new words in. So I really like doing this method. But if you want to just leave the number in, that's fine too. That still works. Now, we're saying one word. That's not really good enough. We need to say a few words together. So if we go under operators, you can see join. Now, as you can always see in all these ones, they try to have examples of work. So if we use join apple banana, we can test it out. It says apple banana. Fantastic. That's the sort of thing we want. So I want to give pick. I'm going to duplicate this because I want to do less work. So I'm going to pick item 1 of definitives. One of the definitives. Now make sure that when you're doing this, these are all the same in each little bubble. So this is length of definitive and item of definitive. Join to length of adjectives and item of definitive. Now I'm just going to do the nouns today with this one. I'm going to press play. I'm missing a space. So what you can do to fix this is you put another join in. And you join a space, which looks like nothing, but it is a space, to it. So now we are joining item 1 with a space. So the first letter of the sentence with a space with the second word of the sentence. So let's test this out. The grapes. That's good. The cat. Fantastic. This is what we want. Now this is how tricky it is. We need to keep on doing that for every single one. So I'm going to have a blank, not zero, a space, and join that with another one. So the noun, let's do the verb. Where is the verbs? So items. Yeah, item 1 of, we don't want adjectives, we want it to be verbs. But we're going to need to use random. Oh, why am I making more work myself? Why don't I just duplicate what we have here? There we go. Instead of nouns, we're going to do verbs. Fill that in there. And this is the hard thing. This gets really long. And it takes a lot for you to think and have it in your head how it's going. So let's try this one now. The table swam. Oops, made a mistake. I've only got one space there. I need to put in another space. I'm just going to put this one here, give that a space, put that in there. Let's try that. The table opened, the table walked. Why is the keep on going to tables? Let's have a look at the nouns. No. Pick random one to the thing of nouns. Yeah, that works. Let's see if we get another one. There we go. We've got a different one. There we go. So this is working. Now, you just need to use this and continue adding to that one bit of code. Now that will make it as long as you want. So it can have as long a sentence as you want with different words in it. But what happens if you have different versions of it? Now this one was a bit tricky. I was trying to think of really interesting ways of doing it. And then I realized you should keep it simple. So this is a 3-word sentence. If I want to do, let's say, a 2-word sentence, just like before, I'm going to cheat and steal part of it. So now I have, let me get rid of these variables so you can see what the cat's saying. I can say the door or the door walked. Pretty ironic that they're both the same door. But yeah, instead of doing different, if you use these ones and do a different block for each, you can then just do in events control if then else, or let's just do an if. So what we can do is make a random operator. So if we do it's sometimes easy to make a variable for this with sentence length. So I'm going to set sentence length to random of 1 to 2 because I've got 2 options here. Put at the start, and if sentence length equals 1, I'm going to do this. If it equals 2, I'm going to do this one. So now I've got varying sentence lengths. So if you do that with every single type of sentence you want to do, you'll get lots of different lengths of sentences and really random ones. Now remember, if you want to make it really interesting, you need to have lots of entities in your lists. You need to use really long sentences. You need to have different types of words. So not just these ones that I've got there. Think of other types you can use. Adverbs, prepositions, lots of different word types you can use. And if you try with an example sentence, like write down an example sentence 7 words long, identify what each word type is, what each word you've got in there is, what type it is, then you can always throw that in as what your sentence creator should do. So if you say, as I've done, the something is a sentence, 2-word sentence. Not interesting, but it works. 3-word sentence. The door opened. The definitive, noun, verb. You can then do a 4-word sentence. The green door opened. Definitive, adjective, noun, verb. You keep on adding to this. You can have a really large amount of sentences that are all grammatically correct because you've got the word types in the right order, but they'll be completely random and don't make sense. So that is our goal here. Thank you very much.